Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jaguar, and this is my playbook trade for February 10th of 2020. And today we traded an opening drive trade. Um, and let's go ahead and look at some of the context and see how today's set up. So the first thing I was observing today, actually I looked at this yesterday, but the first thing that was a key in my mind was this market profile of Friday the 7th and specifically Thursday the 6th. And you can see here, this was the regular trading hours or the pit session all-time highs here. And I think it's relatively obvious this is a weak high here. There was a lot of volume traded here, a lot of acceptance, a lot of two-sided action. So I did not think that this would be the high point of the market. Now, we did trade higher during the overnight session. But for this to be the pit session all-time highs, I'm expecting this to get taken out at some point. So my expectation coming in this week was either a consolidation or for us to continue on the trend higher. So I actually came into today with more of a neutral to bullish bias versus a bearish bias, even though we were opening in a gap down today. So I just wanted to highlight that. Now it's not always that cut and dry, when looking at profiles or whatever. But given the context of what's going on in the ES right now, I think that's a pretty good synopsis there. So you can see here, this was today's price action. You can see obviously here, this was the highs that we were just talking about, and we went and aggressed those highs today. I actually was trading a breakout of those highs as well. And today actually had some pretty solid trading setups. But let's go ahead and look at this opening drive here specifically. So when entering an opening drive trade, there's really very few situations that I'm actually going to be looking for this trade, and it really all lies in opening outside of value. So when we look at the profile of the previous day, we have these dashed lines that are coming off here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that well, but there's dotted lines right above my crosshair here at 34, and then also at 2450 here. And this is the value area obviously here. And what I'm looking for in an open drive is I'm looking for an open location outside of value. So I'm either looking for us to open on the extreme of yesterday's range, the extreme high or extreme low of yesterday's range, or I'm looking for us to open out of range, which would be a gap situation. So on the days that we're opening in an extreme, high or low, I'm hoping that we will get an open drive, to the outside. So then we have a price expansion phase. A lot of times we have trend days set up off of that, or just trend mornings, I guess I should say. and that tends to be the best times to execute an open drive. If we open up in the middle of the range, in value, right over the VPOC, sometimes we get open drives like that, but I don't typically get in on those trades. I'll normally wait for a pullback and trade a breakout or something like that. So I don't get in right away when we're opening in the middle of a range. So today, this dotted yellow line here is the open. We ticked down one tick, and then we expanded higher, as you can see here on this 5-minute chart. Now let's go ahead and jump into today's action. So I started the recorder a little bit late, actually. Just running a little bit behind this morning, and I wanted to be, I was focused on getting into this trade, so I forgot about starting the recorder. And so I got in here. I'm not in love with my entry. And so if you guys have been watching my previous videos, you've probably heard me talk about how when I'm trading open drives, I'm looking for a 10% move in delta alongside of the first 25,000 contracts. So meaning I'm looking for positive 2,500 delta or negative 2,500 delta. In this situation, we did not achieve that. And I still got in here because I was flipping back and forth between the 5-minute footprint and the 25,000 volume footprint. And I could just tell by the nature of the market today, it definitely was an open drive. So although I used that 2,500 delta for a guideline, and I like to kind of stay close to those numbers because you know, I don't want to go around inventing trades, you know, in the midst of the day. So so sometimes I try to keep myself pretty close inside those numbers. But as we got this continuation here, and as I was looking at the 5 minute footprint, I could definitely tell this was the opening drive, and you know, ended up getting in here. So my stop ended up being just 8 ticks away. So when I take these trades, I'm looking at this as a momentum play. So when I take this trade, I'm under the assumption that if this goes 8 ticks, you know, against me, the momentum is no longer to the bullish side. You know, we might have, of course, we might have, excuse me, of course, we might have counter rotations that, you know, go further than 8 ticks. Sometimes you have an open drive that comes back and retests the open and then continues on pretty hard. That just is not my edge, you know. So I take just an 8 tick stop, and then I will move up my stop pretty much as soon as something is available. So you could see we have this high volume ledge right here, and then we went back to initiative buying. So we've got some low volume going in here. Now I actually could tuck my stop loss in here behind this high volume, so at like 21 or maybe 21.25. So we're going up here. We're to get my first target, which my first target was the value area low. So again, like we were talking about here, this 24.50, that was my first target, which is it's just a scalp. It's a 10 tick scalp out right here. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have been looking for more than 10 ticks in this situation anyways. So, you know, getting a 10 tick target was fine with me here. Perfect for me here. So so you can see we traded a little bit. We're trading up higher, and obviously there's not as much liquidity that's being met here. I actually have started bookmap. I was getting bookmap started right here to check how much liquidity there was here. Like I said, I got off to a late start this morning, so you know, I didn't have bookmap running either. But I'm not as dependent on bookmap. I really prefer to use the footprint. I could go kind of bookmap crazy sometimes, and I don't like to get caught up too much in the action of bookmap. So I'm going to fast forward ahead a little bit here. And one thing, here's what I wanted to talk about is when we extended to that value area low right here and extended beyond it, you know, we did see some selling come in, and actually it's more selling than just the delta you're seeing here, because we had plus 311 on that bar, and then it went to minus 450. So we had about 750, 760 contracts, you know, or 750 negative delta that came in during this bar. So so I'm observing that, but also I'm noticing that we're building up more volume here. We're building up volume at the highs, and I can see that there's absorption going on. We never came back and traded here at these, you know, these low volume areas that we, you know, took initiative out of. So like I said, I moved my stop up here, and you know, I never really had to be too concerned about coming back and getting stopped out of this trade. So at this point, because I got my scale out, I'm just looking for the opportunity here, and I can see that there's absorption going on the footprint, so I definitely want to stay in this trade. So I'm going to fast forward here. Just to go back here and make one more point about the absorption is that the way that I know this is that a lot of volume is going in, and there was negative delta, but sellers really were not controlling price. They couldn't push price down. You know, they were really struggling to get price to move down. But then buyers really didn't come in that strong. But every time there was buying, every time buyers were lifting, price was moving. But when sellers were hitting, price was taking a lot of sell orders to bring price down. And so I could see that there was that buy side absorption going on. So that kind of continues here, and we're getting close to my second target, which my second target was VPOC of the prior day. And And I'm watching it trade here, and I'm actually pretty confident that we're just going to go ahead and take out my level. But you can see here, see where we're trading 407 here, and I see that we have buy side absorption going on. But as we speed up here, we're to keep trading that level, and there's actually selling absorption going on at that level. You see, we popped up to 600, 700, 1,000. This is in real time too, 1250. So I went ahead and got out there when I saw the 1250 because I'm watching this on Bookmap as well, and I could see that now there's a seller absorbing as opposed to the buyers were absorbing, and then when the buyers took initiative, price was rising. Now the buyers are using delta. They're getting buyers are taking initiative, but the sellers are absorbing. So I went ahead and got out there, and that was just I was trying to get this MCV pocket that was offered, or somewhere in between there. I was only going for one tick higher than this, so I took 2 ticks off of my target, which to me that's a great that's great management for me there. So I'm really not disappointed by that at all. The other thing about this is I could have considered staying in this trade longer, and with it being an opening drive type of day, but my philosophy on this type of stuff is that open drive days typically provide me with a lot of different opportunities. We see we had a double top that ended up being, a double top at yesterday's high that ended up breaking out, that continued beyond these highs. So today had some good setups. When we have an opening drive, I don't got to make it all in one trade. And you can see we moved up about 7 ticks higher than where I took that target at. But then sellers actually did take control here for a second. So if you guys have a footprint chart, if you want to go look at the difference between the absorption going on between 2350 and 2550 versus when the sellers took control here for a second and they actually were getting rewarded for their for their selling, and then absorption came back in at those same levels around 25 again. That'd be a good thing to study. Pretty much the name of the game today was absorption. There was just tons of absorption going on today, and that's how you get this profile with these continuous nodes that keep getting higher and higher. So that was my playbook trade for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later.